Yeah, thank you for assembling here. Sorry, we our original venue is, as you said, flooded because of the recent events, and we had to do a last minute switch. So this is the best we could do. Hopefully, this space remains cool enough, and we're going to have a lot of fun discussing the nitty gritties as Jake mentioned. But yeah, very happy to see you guys. This is first time that this high quality set of events are happening in Dubai. I've lived in Dubai. I'm based out of Dubai. I've lived in Dubai for about 4 years now, and the recent floods, etc., was the first time this has happened. So hopefully, the next time you come to Dubai, it'll be much better. Um in general, but I'm happy that a lot of people, Token 2049 happened here, and so generally the side events happening around a major conference are always pretty interesting, and we are trying to live up to that with hot takes. This is our third hot take series, and you'll see a bunch of high quality speakers getting into the details about what they do, what are the emerging issues in Web3, how projects are supporting them, and so on. So wonderful to have you guys here in general. I think maybe a bit of background about Avail. So, as Jake said, Avail was initiated within Polygon back in 2020. This is when Ethereum had pivoted to the rollup centric roadmap. So, they had left execution sharding and went into a data sharding sort of roadmap. And when we were at Polygon, and coincidentally, I'm one of the founders of Polygon as well. So, we were kind of thinking about this topic deeply at the time. Not many people might remember, but Polygon or Matic started with building a Plasma solution that was the precursor to rollups in general, but Plasma never really took off, and so we were thinking after launching Polygon POS what to do next, and so we made the transition to ZK rollups, as you might have heard about ZK EVM, for example, and the CDK. But we also started Avail in 2020. And so what Avail really is this infrastructure that builds for this new reality of blockchains. So blockchains really started off with like like an Ethereum monolithic chain sort of an infrastructure. So think about chains like Ethereum, Solana, and so on. But Ethereum realized soon that it's very difficult to scale on one chain itself, and so you had to kind of offload the execution to other layers. So now there were a lot of experiments here. It started off with Plasma when the first Plasma white paper was released in 2017, and that's when Matic or Polygon began. But then slowly over the years, like rollups have taken center stage, and like to kind of enable rollups at scale, you have this fairly unknown thing called data availability, which has become pretty popular over the last 1 year. But it's a very fundamental attribute of blockchains that you really need to scale to enable these rollups. And I liken this transition of blockchains from having all multiple apps on a single chain to this more modular future is because if you kind of look at apps on the internet, like Web2 apps on the internet, not all apps run on this one big supercomputer, right? Like all apps on the internet live on separate servers. They start off small and they scale independently per demand, right? Like so, that's how the architecture of how you build apps on the internet has really evolved, and we see the same thing happening with blockchain apps as well, right? Like so, the blockchain revolution started with having shared chains, as we call it, like multiple apps on one single chain. And so our mindset is still within the mindset that all apps should live on one chain, they should be synchronously composable, but all of that like puts constraint on how much you can scale. Even Solana, for example, even though it's like very fast scalable, you must have noticed that it's having some issues of congestion because, and they're also now thinking about like doing layer twos or roll ups on top. And so we liken the transition from single chains to like these millions of microservices like roll up servers. And so that's the reality we are getting into. And the mental model for most people from a rollups might be that rollups can only be EVM. That's not true. Like the first popular rollups were EVM based, but there's because what rollups fundamentally bring to the table is it allows you to spin up these chains pretty fast. So now you see a lot of these EVM rollups, but in the future you're going to see more application specific rollups coming up, right? Like, so very simple to how like Web2 developers build apps by building their business logic, by creating their data model. People will be able to build these very lightweight app specific chains, and we have some great partners who will be speaking today, like Stacker, for example, and others who are kind of already building this thing through and through. And so, just getting back to what Avail really is, right? Like, we started off by building like this whole scalable data availability layer, and I think we are one of the only chains that build data availability sampling with something called validity proofs, or KZG polynomial commitments and validity proofs. And this is very similar to the techniques used that are going to be used by Ethereum on their Dank sharding roadmap. And I think there's only one other project that has actually implemented data availability sampling, and that is Celestia in general. So that's how we started. But while building Avail, when we kind of thought that okay, now data availability sampling is implemented, we enable this reality of like these thousands and tens of thousands of these rollups on top. But then we realized that if you have so many rollups on top, what is going to happen to the user experience, right? Like, it's going to be increasingly fragmented. And that's why we started last year building a solution called Nexus on top of Avail DA, which addresses this problem of interoperability between rollups or abstracting chains away from users. So even if you're using multiple chains, if you have a transaction that spans multiple chains, we want the end user experience to be abstracted away, so that like in a end state scenario, users would interact with a smart wallet with Avail Nexus, and users won't even need to deal with the complexity of things like bridging and so on, right? Like, I mean, all of this will be handled directly by Avail Nexus. And so that's kind of the theme that we are working on, and we term it as the unification of the various fragmented ecosystems that are there in Web3. And that's also one of the themes of this event. Like, how can we kind of get beyond the fragmented landscape that is out there? So I'll just stop there. Like, we are a lot of the Avail team is here throughout the day. Like, just tap any one of us if you need any help. Hopefully we'll have like a great few sessions, and like, please feel free to contact us as well. Welcome again. Thank you.